Over the past few weeks, Vice President-elect Harris and I have been announcing nominees to our cabinet. There are people of the highest character, varied experiences and backgrounds. Who are going to help us beat this pandemic, keep us safe and secure, and build our economy back better than it ever was. They include longtime colleagues and new faces and new voices. They include people who share my views and those who have different views. They include people who supported my campaign from its earliest days and people who ran against me. They're experts in policy, leaders tested by crises, and by the end of this process, this cabinet will be the most representative of any cabinet in American history. We'll have more people of color than any cabinet ever. We'll have more women than any cabinet ever. We'll have a cabinet of barrier breakers, a cabinet of first. I know how proud presidents are when they're able to achieve a first in their cabinet. I remember when President Clinton named the first ever woman to be Secretary of State. I was there when President Obama named the first ever black Attorney General. But compared to my predecessors, the Harris-Biden cabinet is first among cabinets of all the firsts it represents. The first ever woman, the first black woman, the first woman of South Asian descent as Vice President behind me on the screen. The first ever black Secretary of Defense. The first ever Latino head of the DHS and the first ever Latino head of HHS. The first woman, I should say, of South Asian American descent to lead OMB. The first woman and Asian American to lead the United States Trade Representative, as our lead United States Trade Representative. The first black woman to chair the President's Council on Economic Advisors. The first ever woman to hold Alexander Hamilton's position as Treasury Secretary. Our cabinet doesn't just have one first or just two of these firsts, but 8 precedent-busting appointments. And today, a 9th, the first ever openly gay nominee to lead the cabinet department and one of the youngest cabinet members ever. The Biden-Harris cabinet will be an historic cabinet, a cabinet that looks like America, a cabinet that taps into the best of America, a cabinet that is opening doors and breaking down barriers and accessing the full range of talent. We have so much of it, the full range of talent in this nation. A cabinet that is up to the immediate crises we face, and we face several. And the long-term challenges this nation faces in the future are in this cabinet's hands. It's a cabinet that's battle-tested, qualified, experienced, creative, innovative, and forward-looking, and yes, representative. And today, I'm proud to nominate its newest member. For Secretary of Transportation, I nominate Mayor Pete Buttigieg. I got to know Pete on the campaign trail. He's one of the smartest people you'll ever meet and one of the most humble. A mayor from the heartland, a management expert, a policy wonk with a big heart, a veteran, a lieutenant in the United States Navy Reserve, an intelligence officer deployed to Afghanistan while he was mayor. A new voice with new ideas, determined to move past old politics. The son of professors, a husband, his husband is an educator. Always a mark of good character, is the way I look at it. And by the way, Jill and I have always enjoyed seeing Pete and Chasten, I should say, together on the trail. Chasten has become a close friend of Jill's and mine. And what I admire about Pete is he's always clear about who he is, what he believes, and how he wants to bring people in, not exclude them. He's able to walk into any room, leave people inspired with his ability to describe an America that's best for us, all of us. An America that's hopeful, bold, creative, inclusive. An America that can do literally anything. The Department of Transportation services a critical mission with critical responsibilities, particularly in this administration. We need someone who knows how to work with state, local, and federal agencies. For example, right now, 1 in 5 miles of our highways are still in, quote, poor condition, according to the Society of American Engineers. Tens and tens of thousands of bridges are in disrepair, some on the verge of collapse, presenting a clear and present danger to people's lives. We're the world's richest nation, but we rank 10th. We rank 10th in overall quality of our infrastructure, according to the World Economic Forum. But there's so much we can do. When I think of climate change, I think about jobs, good-paying union jobs, jobs that put Americans to work, making their air cleaner for our kids to breathe, restoring our crumbling roads, bridges, and ports, making it faster, cheaper, and cleaner to transport American-made goods across the country and around the world. I know that when you were mayor, Pete, when people would come in to try to decide whether they're going to build something in your area, they'd say, where's the nearest railroad head? What about the water access? What about, and so on. This is going to attract businesses. Jobs that lay the lines for the second great railroad revolution, which is not only will slash pollution, but will slash commute times, open up investments in areas connected to metropolitan areas for the first time. You know, we selected Pete for transportation because the department is at the intersection of some of our most ambitious plans to build back better. When President Obama put me in charge of implementing the Recovery Act, which is over $800 billion to take us from crisis to recovery to resurgence, modernizing our transportation infrastructure, our roads, bridges, and ports were some of our most critical investments. We invested more in infrastructure than any time since President Eisenhower in the interstate highway projects. You know, they're projects that traditionally receive bipartisan support, that forge public and private partnerships. When we do those public and private partnerships and we invest federal money, we pull billions of dollars of private investment for every dollar we put in, federal dollar. And they put millions of Americans to work, strengthening our economy, our economic competitiveness, and rebuilding our communities for the future. Pete's got a great perspective of a mayor that solves problems and brings people together. He's got a vision of a next-generation leader, and with experience and the temperament to lead change today, to dig us out of this economic crisis. For example, helping cities and states to keep transit systems running for frontline and essential workers, and then helping them modernize their airports, their ports, their railways, to attract and retain businesses and workers, to advance racial equality, racial equity, as we build back better, include everyone, so zip code doesn't determine your access to a good job, a good school, a good education, and health care. To deal with the existential threat of climate change with real jobs, not just $15 an hour job, which I'm going to call for universally, but for prevailing wages, union jobs, paying $45, $50 an hour in benefits. Helping cities across the country in red states and blue states, red cities and blue cities, to build more climate-resilient communities to deal with the more extreme floods, droughts, and superstorms. Just look around the country today. What are we faced with? The West is burning. The Midwest is being flooded. The East Coast is being pummeled by more tornadoes and storms than it's ever had. We're in a state that's 3 feet above sea level. All of us along the Atlantic Ocean find ourselves with problems in terms of flooding. Look, working with states, businesses, and labor to install 500,000 charging stations for the next generation of clean vehicles, smart grid system, reducing energy consumption and ushering in a clean energy economy all across America. Some of you may remember I met with 5 leading CEOs in America and 5 leading unions in America. And the president of General Motors, after our conversation, our joint conversation, picked up the phone and called, I'm told, California, and said they're dropping their suit against California. They're all in on making sure that we're the first in the world to have switched to and be able to get to a carbon neutral economic way to power automobiles as a consequence of dealing with electric vehicles. We can own the electric vehicle market. It can put, with those 500,000 charging stations, we can put 1 million jobs back in Detroit and in the Midwest, building cars. You know, Pete's can also carry out the department's duty to keep Americans safe on our roads and our highways and on our skies. Pete's going to help build back better with jobs and hope, with vision and execution. And I'm honored. I'm honored he's answering the call to serve his country once again. So please welcome the next Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg.